Welcome back to Sharing Sox, our first actual baseball that's going on somewhere in the professional world edition. I am back to being now duty geezer of Southside Sox, Leigh Allan, because the old one went away because we started up again. And with me, my son and West Coast correspondent, Will, who has behind him, for those not looking at video, our new double play combo up the middle, which makes it look like Josh Harrison is, 3'6" or something. He is 5'8", but Tim's not that tall. Tim's not 7 feet. Tim must be standing on second base or something to have that.
Well, Tim likes to look good in all of his publicity, so they probably got him on an Apple box. Like you would with Tom Cruise if he were doing a film with Nicole.
Alan Ladd used to have his co-star women would walk in a ditch.
Wow, that's next level insecurity. Yeah.
Well, while we're on Josh Harrison, just to point out, I mentioned this last year because when I wanted him to be the Madrigal replacement when Madrigal got hurt, nothing happened. But we have, both of us probably, at some time, come across Josh Harrison in a hallway long ago, because Josh, same age as Will, same grade of high school graduation, went to Princeton High School in the Cincinnati suburbs, and Will competed there probably twice a year in speech meets, which included Fridays, which meant you were around the regular students on Friday, and I judged those meets, so I was around too. So may very well have come across Josh in those days.
And what a claim to fame that is. We may or may not have been in a hallway with a last-minute second baseman replacement for the Chicago White Sox.
There you go.
I'll take it. That's pretty cool.
And he was probably enjoying himself, because the word is he's a great guy.
Carmen Electra also went to high school there. I think she's a little older than me, but maybe Josh and Carmen Electra, not trying to start anything between Mr. and Mrs. Harrison, but I don't know. Since we're throwing out crazy possibilities, thought I'd get that out there. Why don't we haven't really talked about Josh Harrison on here, have we?
Not really. I think probably briefly last year. Just, hey, here's a guy we could get.
I'm actually okay with this signing. I know it's not the second base dream replacement everyone was hoping for, but we knew we were never going to get. The people out there who thought there was a prayer Trevor Story was coming to the White Sox to play second base, which he is going to the Red Sox to play second base, but that's different than coming to the White Sox to play second base. I'm okay with Harrison here. I think he fits well with the team. I think he's known for being a great guy, great competitor. He's older, as you said, but I think he's definitely, in terms of the kind of guy the White Sox would add in the offseason, Harrison is higher up on that list than I think, we could be talking about Adam Eaton right now. So it's nice that we're talking about Josh Harrison and not someone like Adam Eaton. Obviously different positions, but we were mourning at this point previously. So yeah, I'm happy that we have Josh Harrison. He seems like a good dude and could actually prove to be, if he gets a little bit of a resurgence with the energy from these young guys, could end up being actually a pretty solid ball player for us at second.
Yeah, I mean, his defense is not overwhelming on his D-WAR scores. On the other hand, they are not negative as many of our players are. So that comes out well. Before we get into spring training, what's happening in spring training, which there have been, mostly what's happening in spring training, as long as nobody gets hurt, isn't very important. But there are a couple of things that look important. But let's talk money, because we're recording this on Thursday, and it's the day Forbes came out with their annual evaluation of money of Major League Baseball teams. The Yankees now valued by Forbes at over $6 billion. And we should point out, in the sales that have gone on in recent years, Forbes has been low. Not a lot low, but low. Second are the Dodgers down at $4 billion. Just the Red Sox are next. Cubs come in fourth, $3.8 billion. The White Sox come in. Here's your guess.
I'm going to say 22nd.
15th. That's where they were last year too, I think. At 1.76 billion. According to Forbes, they actually had an operating loss last year, but they are owned by a tax attorney. I would not trust any figures on operating profit or loss that comes out. Really, I wouldn't. It will hide anything they can hide. But that's up 4% in value from last year, but it's still middling. And look at that, less than half the value of the Cubs. I mean, like 40% the value of the Cubs.
Yeah. And honestly,
happen to be in the same town and do not have essentially free rent for the next 200 or 300 years. This is not a well-run baseball operation.
No, definitely not. And I actually do think those numbers are low. I think you would have a tough time buying the Yankees for only $6 billion right now. And it's not much higher than that, but I think that if they did decide to sell the Yankees today, the price tag would be even higher than that. These teams are so inflated, which is, of course, why I spent all of my time being angry at the owners and not the players during this lockout, because these guys bought these teams for way less than that. And now they're arguing.
Jerry took a $20 bill out of his pocket, plunked it on the table, and Bill Beck needed lunch money, and that was that.
That was it. That's the history right there. I think it's ridiculous that the White Sox are valued that low, but also, it's not necessarily a winning culture. In the last 15 years, it's been kind of bleak. Now, we are ideally in our window. Our evaluation should go up after this year when we win the World Series. But yeah, it's crazy to me that they are half the value of the Cubs, a team that I thought was going to be bad for the next 10 years, but they did a lot more in the offseason than we did. So who knows?
You mean more than nothing?
More than nothing, more than negative.
And I don't mean to knock Mr. Harrison, who's standing behind you right there, but Josh is just a replacement for Nick Madrigal.
Right, of course.
He's not an upgrade. He's probably a slight downgrade. And then the others that came in, Graveman was a replacement for Tepera, and Kelly is really a replacement for Kopech, who was a replacement for Rodon, and so on down the list. And in each one, it's a little step down from where it was. So it's not even quite flat. Now there's still some time left. Things could happen, but they sure don't look like they're going to happen.
But what could even happen, really? That's the thing. I mean, one of the craziest things to me is all these people on White Sox Twitter who keep talking about this Kimbrel trade that's going to happen. I mean, what baseball, what league have you been watching for your entire lifetime where somebody is itching to spend $16 million on a guy who's not going to get anybody out? It makes no sense. I don't see a world where we get anything for Kimbrel.
No, Jansen just signed for $16 million just as a free agent with the Braves, but he's been much better than Kimbrel other than a few months last year. The last 3 years.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not spending $16 million on Kenley Jansen right now either, but I understand those numbers a little bit more. The upside is certainly higher with Jansen right now than it is with Kimbrel. Is there any way we get rid of Craig Kimbrel outside of giving him to a team and saying, we'll eat $15.5 million of this?
I guess, spring training is kind of a demo for him. For other teams to go, oh, he's got it back. Well, on Wednesday, 2/3 of an inning, 5 runs, 4 of them earned, no control, no fastball. First outing of spring, yes, but I'm sorry, he's on display And that display said, we are never getting rid of Craig Kimbrel, or at least
That
until
display
October.
said Kimball found a nice condo in the South Loop that he likes, and he wants to stay for this entire season, because there is no way, if he's pitching like that in spring training, he's headed anywhere but the South Side of Chicago. My goodness. And I think let's talk about pitching since we're on it, and after the break we'll talk about some of the hitting. There has been some exciting things there. But Kimbrel is now, I think, a permanent resident of the Chicago White Sox for the rest of this season. Outside of releasing him and eating the whole contract,
not going to happen.
Not going to happen. I don't even think anyone really takes him for a 50th round draft pick if we eat $14 million of his deal. I just don't know why anyone would want his arm on the team right now. I'm sorry, Craig. I know you're a huge fan of the podcast, and you listen to us weekly, and we've been nicer about you than most. But in this scenario, I'm just lost on this whole thing. I mean, we could be sitting here.
They did the $16 million for Kimbrel, and we've now got relief. It's got to be the highest paid relief corps in the history of baseball. We're over $50 million. It's insane. At the same time, they absolutely penny pinch Luis Giolito. I mean, this story about Giolito and arbitration, they're going to arbitration over $200,000. And Giolito said at one point, to avoid arbitration, they were 50,000 apart. You're 50,000 apart on the man who is going to pitch game one of your playoffs, because I really believe Lucas is going to be better than Lynn this year. I think those.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
What are they thinking? What is in the mind? I mean, and you know that Lucas is telling the truth about it because he's a total class act, whereas the management of the White Sox is as unclassy as you can be. I mean, it's just a bunch of absolute worthless human beings, from the ownership down to the field manager. How could
hold on.
Like that?
Hold on. You can't talk that way about the sod father. If you're talking about
I'm sorry. I was talking the actual baseball operations.
Okay.
No. I'm sure the promotional people are fine.
The other thing that's crazy about this Giolito $50,000 thing is it's not like we're in a situation where Giolito says, I want a 1-year, $35 million deal. And the White Sox balk at that. This dude is violently underpaid when you look at who's making what around. When you look at the reliever who is going to lose games for Luis Giolito, Craig Kimbrel, as he comes in.
And Giolito already is an example of, but a primary example of, the kind of horribleness of the arbitration system, because Giolito on the open market is $20 million a year at least, maybe 25. But
for sure,
when they go to arbitration, the arbitrator cannot compare him to a pitcher of similar nature. He can only compare him to a pitcher of similar nature in arbitration, and only one arbitration year ahead. So he can be compared to people who have done third-year arbitration. But he can't be compared to the open market at all. So he already was down. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of millions of dollars to us normal human beings, but by baseball standards, he was already being screwed by his own entry in the thing. The White Sox front office is they start with Jerry, and it's just unfathomable.
It's insane. I mean, this is a guy who you want to be your ace for, I would say, at least the next 5 years. And you're not going to meet him with $50,000? Well, guess what? It's going to be almost impossible to keep the guy now. And I get that Giolito is saying, that doesn't affect the relationship, and I want to be here and all that stuff, because Giolito, as you said, is a class act. He's a good guy. He's not going to go out and say, like, oh, they screwed me on $50,000, so I'm not, screw this. This year's awaits. Like, he's not going to do that because he seems like a totally stand-up dude. But his agent is not going to feel that way. And when this contract's over, that agent's going to say, remember the 50K, you guys? Remember when we were at
He's with Boras now, right?
the 50K thing? I don't even know if he is. And if he's with Boras, then, he's as good as gone already. And why
He's got another year.
Why would you create that tension? Sure, he's got another year, but they're certainly not sitting around thinking now, well, we're gonna take a cut to stay in Chicago. That's not gonna happen. And you kind of need that from an ace when you're a mid-level market team, even though we're in a huge market. We're the small market of the Chicago teams, as you solidified today with those Forbes numbers. I mean, it's just insane to do this to your ace, to do this to a guy who's going to have the ball on opening day, you would hope, for the next 5 to 7 years, and you skip out on $50,000. This is just next level shitty ownership. This is bad business. I mean, if he is with Scott Boras, and I realize we could Google this and tell you in a second, but it doesn't even really matter if it's Scott Boras. If it's an agent, anyone other than his, cousin who works at an Arby's and has never done anything like this before, if it's anything higher than that, they're coming for the White Sox now, which means that Giolito is probably in his last 2 years as a Chicago White Sox. Also, come on, White Sox, you're going to lose that arbitration case. Looking at Giolito's numbers alone, even without comparing them, says that he deserves the extra $200,000 that they're going to be looking at in arbitration. This is just absolute crap management, as you said, from the top to the bottom. It's a total train wreck. And do I think Giolito is going to bring that onto the field this year next? No, I don't. I think he is going to go out there and try to win for these guys on the team. But the White Sox they're in deep doo-doo with some of these contracts. They made a brilliant move in signing a lot of these studs to long-term deals while they were still affordable. And now they're just blowing it with this kind of crap. And our window is now 2 years. I mean, our window is 2 years. We've got to win this year. We've got to win next year, because I do think now at this point Giolito will be gone after 2, and I don't know where we'll be. Lance Lynn will be 55 and 410 pounds by that point. So I'm not sure what that will look like for us. Oh my goodness, the arbitration thing. I mean, the $50,000 thing is the most infuriating thing for me in an already infuriating offseason for the White Sox and baseball in general. It's absurd. So now let's talk about Dallas Keuchel, who has been the best BP pitcher we've seen in spring training outside of Craig Kimbrel. Keuchel seems to be throwing it exactly where every hitter wants it, which is really nice for these minor league baseball players who have been shelling him. Is there any place for Keuchel to pitch at the pro level?
Well, I looked at the projections, the pitcher projections for the White Sox, and the average. And I think one of the fantasy sites averages all the projection places. RotoWire, somebody like that does it. And for Keuchel, they've got him at a 4.68 ERA, which would be an incredible improvement. Still the worst on the staff. I don't think he'll make that. 152 innings and a 9-10 record. That is really optimistic.
that is, I would say it actually borders on absurdist comedy. 152 innings, if we're lucky. The guy, despite only throwing 45 miles an hour, seems to only throw 5 innings. He was a guy we thought would go further in games, but he doesn't.
Oh, you and I early last season were talking about how 60 pitches and he was done. That was long before the
exactly. And now a 4.68 ERA. May the baseball gods shine down upon us if Dallas Keuchel has a 4.68 ERA. I mean, right now, I will tell you, if Dallas Keuchel has a 4.68 ERA this season, that's really great for us. That's really great for us because he's far and away our fifth starter. If we have Dallas Keuchel starting games, if we get 152 innings and a 4.68 ERA with our offense out of Dallas Keuchel, we're winning the AL. I mean, that's an incredibly generous prediction.
Well, we know, of course, that we're going to win the AL Central, or we virtually know.
I don't know that we're going to win the AL Central. Even that kind of talk, I'm like, you
all
tell
the
me.
projections. I mean, and not because the White Sox have improved and will be great. I think they're going to be a little bit worse. But because the division is really still crap. The other teams, other than Cleveland, improved a little. And a couple more stuff. Minnesota could take yet another step. The Twins have done some big stuff. I mean, with the Correa. Yankees trade for them is interesting, getting Sanchez. Sanchez has been a horrible disappointment for 3 years now. But, you get him out of the New York situation. That's the one case where new environment could really make a difference. Where
I think there's a lot of cases
every time he strikes out,
that happens.
God,
Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and say I think the Twins are gonna be better than the White Sox this year. But what I will say is we don't know because the Twins were supposed to be a lot better than the White Sox last year, and they were a shocking disappointment. So now we have in our head that the Twins suck, but the Twins might not suck. I don't know what was going on last year. My biggest fear is Detroit. Detroit is full of these young guys who are ready to explode on the scene. I can't sit here and say I think Detroit is better than the White Sox. However, I don't see a world where we are rolling through this division the way we did last year. I think we're definitely still the team that comes out of the division with the winning record. But I don't see a world where we are getting, 19 freebies against Kansas City. We're getting 19 freebies against the Twins, 19 freebies against the Tigers. The Guardians, I think, are probably going to suck pretty bad. But
they've always got pitching, so you can't.
True. You can't just roll over the Guardians. I mean, you still have to face Shane Bieber. So I don't know. I'm not sold on this. I would have been sold on the White Sox being a dominant team if we had upgraded in any positions at all, if we had one upgrade. But unfortunately, we have no upgrades whatsoever. And that's not hating on the guys we got. I don't think they're bad guys for the most part. I think Graveman might be all right. I think Harrison could be a pleasant surprise.
Kelly should be good.
Kelly should be good. If anything, he brings energy, he brings fire. He fits with this White Sox team. I like that we have a guy who's going to be throwing at Correa. I like that we have a guy who's going to get in brawls and get ejected. That's fine with me. Kelly's good, but he's not so good that you care if he gets tossed, which I think is exactly where you want a guy like that. You want a guy to come in where you're happy if he stays in the game, but you're also fine if he gets ejected for starting a bench clearing brawl. Let's take our break, though, and let's come back and talk about some of the hitting that's been going on. Not that hitting in the first few games of spring training means anything, but if guys come out at the beginning of spring training, especially young guys, and they hit for a squat, it is usually a bad sign. And I'd say right now we've got more good signs than bad signs. So let's take a quick break. We'll be right back on Sharing Sox. All right, welcome back to Sharing Sox. We talked about our very positive and sunny and glamorous outlook for pitching as we head into the 2022 season. And first off, I also just want to clarify that I think as the Sox podcasts go, we are not the most negative ones. We are actually often a tad too optimistic. So I think our pitching assessment was fair, even though it was animated and not so positive. But I do think it was very fair. And now we'll move on to hitting. So let's talk about some of these pleasant surprises we've seen from spring training so far. Who's your biggest surprise?
Well, the biggest surprise, I think, is Adolfo. Vaughn is also hitting extremely well.
Yeah,
Cespedes is hitting balls very, very far and playing a nice center field in the games that have been on TV. So there's some hope down there that this isn't really the very worst farm system in the history of baseball. I don't know what you do with Adolfo. He's supposed to be an average outfielder, certainly better than the corner outfielders we field, any of the corner outfielders we had out there last year. I can't, and you don't know when you see that he's hitting what's 560 or something like that, whether he's facing any major league pitchers when he does that,
I mean,
which can make a huge difference.
it does make a huge difference. But that said, the kids come out firing. Let's see, Miker is 556, as you said. I mean, we're through 9 at bats, so our sample size is tiny.
Yeah, none of these things really show much.
But
it's like Jose being hitting 0, So
exactly.
what?
Right. Yeah. Who cares? That means nothing. Or even Tim Anderson's hitting 333 in spring training. That's what he hits in the bigs. So there's not too much to discuss with our regular guys. However, with Adolfo, we've seen a lot of really solid early power, hitting the ball hard. Vaughn hitting the ball very well so far, 5 of 11. That means a little more for me just because he was a Major League Baseball player last year. You've got Leury starting pretty well out of the gate. I
think he usually does. I think Leury is a spring training phenom, as I recall from years past.
Well, and that makes sense. Leury is a really amazing minor league baseball player who we just happen to keep at the Major League Baseball level every year. And I love Leury. I'm not hating on him. I'm happy with him being our 26th guy or whatever. We've got Yermin back in our lineup. He is 3 for 9 at this point. I don't see a world in any way where Yermin makes the big league club. And we're also seeing some interesting early stuff from Berger, Jimenez. Of course, we're still hoping Eloy bounces back to full speed, and Romy Gonzalez is starting pretty well. He's got 4 RBIs and just 10 at bats. He's also striking out quite a bit, as is Adolfo. Adolfo's got 4 strikeouts. When Adolfo, talk about 2 true outcomes, or 3 true outcomes, he's got 5 hits, he's got 1 walk, and he's got 4 strikeouts in 9 official at bats. I mean, that is troubling. And
that means his batting average on balls in play is 1,000. They say that's unsustainable.
But I think this is the guy who's going to sustain it. I have no clue if there's any point where Miker Adolfo is playing right field for the White Sox this year, but do you think that could happen?
Yeah. Yeah.
And at whose expense? Who goes away if Miker Adolfo comes up to play right?
Well, I mean, your right field right now, of course, and both of us are big Adam Engel fans. He's hurt again.
Yeah.
Or still hurt, I guess, is the situation on his left shoulder. I would love to see him out there all the time, but I don't know that it can be. They're going to want to have the bats of Sheets and Vaughn. Whichever one is a DH, they're going to want somebody out there in right field. And poor Robert is out there going foul line to foul line, covering everything that he can cover because we have no left or right fielders.
So what do you think then? You think Eloy is going to be the left fielder this year?
And yeah, I mean, unless they can convince him to DH, and it doesn't seem like something he's going to go, oh, good.
Right. Yeah. It's just, I mean, also kind of terrifying, the idea that Eloy is going to be playing 150 games in left field of Major League Baseball. So where does that put Andrew Vaughn? So you're picturing Andrew Vaughn and Gavin Sheets as our DHs.
DH, backup first baseman. Of course, we need to give. We haven't even got into this backup catcher thing. I think there was a wild pitch from Collins. As soon as Collins came into the game yesterday, I don't know if that was a pitcher's fault or his. I watched Zavala chase one back to the screen in another game. Why does it just have a cardboard cutout up there?
Before you even question the backup catcher scenario, because this is actually already solved, we've got Nick Ciofo. I don't even know how to say it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Chiafo. We've got him batting 1,000 in spring training. Listen to this on base percentage, 1,000. Listen to this slugging percentage, 2,000, and his OPS
3,000.
3,000. So I mean, the backup catcher conversation's as good as done at this point. I mean, we've
that'd be
got
nice, wouldn't it?
We've got a guy with numbers.
I checked when they signed him. I checked to see his D-WARs. His D-WARs are not the goodest you've ever seen. But
are they D-WARs?
But he has. It's almost no sample size. I think he's been in the major league, not even for a cup of coffee, for more like a sip of coffee.
Wow. So all right. So you're not sold necessarily on Chio.
Not somebody that the Orioles dropped. The Orioles DFA'd. Possibly not.
But in his defense, though, the Orioles have like 1,000 guys worth dropping. So if you get dropped by the Orioles, it kind of just feels like they threw a dart at a board. It's like casting in LA. They threw a dart at the board and it landed on you. You got dropped by the Orioles and picked up by the White Sox. The natural progression of players that we should be saying. This is something we talk about a lot. It has only gotten messier, is how we have a bunch of guys qualified to DH and not much else.
It makes, you and I had, not on the show, but just conversing, gotten into these possibilities with the Oakland pitchers. The White Sox have not been prominent in any of the online discussion that you see, but we've got the guys for it, because Oakland is looking for cheap, and they got rid of their third baseman, they got rid of their first baseman. At least from Anaya, which would be a very nice 1-year addition to the pitching staff. Keuchel can sit on the bench, Anaya can pitch. One of our first baseman / DHs, and Berger, is pretty good setup for that trade.
Yeah.
It's really good for Oakland. Years and years of control, very cheaply. I don't know if the White Sox are willing to give up either. I'm sure Oakland would want Vaughn. Probably not going to give him up for 1 year of a pitcher. Sheets, on the other hand, Sheets and Berger.
I would honestly, I think right now is the time to trade Vaughn. I think you could get a huge return on Andrew Vaughn, and it's not that I don't like Vaughn or don't think Vaughn has got loads of potential. It's the loads of potential that I think make him so valuable. We have this spoil of riches in DHs / sort of first baseman.
Okay. And isn't it amazing we have horrible defense?
Sorry about that. I had a phone call coming in. We have this spoil of riches right now, and I think getting rid of Vaughn could get us something huge. And I know people don't like that. People want to keep Andrew Vaughn. I get why they want to keep Andrew Vaughn. But we've got all of these guys who are kind of Andrew Vaughns. And why aren't we getting rid of some of these guys? It makes no sense that we're, every trade package that's proposed on White Sox Twitter, people are like, oh, Berger and Sheets, or you can't do Vaughn and Berger. You can't do, and like, why not? Why not? We got 5 of these guys. Why can't we get rid of 2 of them? I agree that I'm excited that our farm system is not looking as bad as we thought it was going to look. But, I'm not saying get rid of Cespedes. I'm saying get rid of Vaughn and get 2 great players, or a great pitcher and a great position player in return. I think with 15 new DH slots opened up, Andrew Vaughn is extremely valuable right now, and much more valuable than Sheets or Berger. I am in a world where if you could get an ace, I would part ways with Eloy. And I know that is super unpopular, and it would need to be somebody really amazing who's locked up on a good deal. But we have so many guys who aren't quite everything you need. Why not get rid of 2 of the 5 of them and get some of the things we need? I'm so confused about why we're hoarding a bunch of guys who aren't really going to get to play this year now at the major league level. And what do you do with Miker? Because Miker is out of options, right? Miker's got to play Major League Baseball this year.
Oh, is he at the point where he's a Rule 5 draftee or that kind of thing?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe when I was watching the broadcast, they mentioned that Miker's out of options. So what is he on the club? Is he on the Major League club now?
I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the Major League club for April, because they get the 2 extra players, make one of them a pitcher. Although they may want 2 pitchers. I really hope, and we're running out of time, I know, but one of the things with this loading up on the money going into the bullpen, even though 16 million of it's a waste, I hope that it's because they got to our Hall of Famer baseball person and said, you cannot burn out your starting pitchers in April and May, so they've got nothing left when it comes to playoffs. You're going to make the playoffs, probably. Don't burn these guys out ahead of time, because he sure as hell did it last year, and he cost the White Sox the playoffs in April and May.
This is what I mean when I say we are one of the nicer and more optimistic podcasts. Here we are saying, you're saying, I hope it's because they got to the Hall of Fame baseball man and said, don't burn out the pitchers. No chance that happens. No chance. These guys are fools. They are fools. So while I agree, I hope that that's what happened. I think, I don't know. I think we could see Giolito throw 187 pitches on opening day, because I can't imagine Tony has learned a damn thing from last year. If anything, someone will call him out on it, and then he'll double down and say, no, well, when I was, coming up in the 1910s, and this is how people pitch.
Yeah, and pitchers threw 324 innings. Yeah.
I realize he's older than you, right? He's younger than you.
No, he's old. He's 2 years older than that.
Yeah, so he's ancient.
Ancient.
Yeah, so you guys are totally different generations. He's baby boomer, and you're, I don't know. I got nothing.
No, he's actually pre-baby boomer. I'm the oldest. True. I'm the absolute oldest age of baby boomer.
That's true.
He's whatever the hell came before baby boomer. I don't know.
For all of you,
greatest generation or something, but. No, because he was only 3 years old when the war ended, so that can't.
That's right. Yeah. So he's just kind of lost in this blur of something, which fits perfectly with his personality. And for all you Gen Zers who listen, I know that we have a huge crossover between people who watch Euphoria on HBO and people who listen to Sharing Sox podcast. Just so you know, the geezer he's like an OG boomer, and like the original boomers, and they're cooler than the next gen of boomers, the ones who came in.
Yeah, exactly. Bill Clinton.
You and Bill Clinton, there's no controversy with him. These are the good boomers. So go easy on them, Gen Z. I would maybe guess that our entire listening core is boomers. But we're pro OG boomers on this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we should probably call it quits for today. Do you have anything else before we go?
No, we should point in the White Sox are doing fine. I mean, they're 6-2 in spring training. They're doing well. A lot of the players are going fine. Nobody's hurt. The Kimbrel thing is very worrying, but I think that's the only thing that's really worrying. And you knew it was going to happen anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, the ultimate thing is we got baseball back. A lot of the White Sox players are looking good. The energy's up. It seems like they're feeling positive about
and
players.
Tim's the first edition of Tim's YouTube video is out. I watched it. It is produced like most people's first editions of the YouTube videos. And that's about it. It's got some interest because it's about his high school years.
Oh, well, yeah, that sounds pretty interesting.
And
Tim,
mainly basketball, because he didn't play baseball until he was a senior or something.
Yeah, well, I know Tim is a huge listener of our podcast. So, Tim, just want to do a plug. Check out Tim's YouTube show. Apparently, it's not terrible, not great, but what are you going to do? I mean,
it's only 8 minutes long.
And you have Moncada come out with, a music video with, previously with incredible production values. How do you live up to that? So, Tim, you're going to get there. You're going to get to the disaster personnel level at some point. But yes, happy to have baseball back. Love seeing the Sox out there. It's going to be fun. Going to be a fun year here on Sharing Sox. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time on Sharing Sox.